In this gripping tale, I unravel a chilling discovery from an abandoned hospital. The story delves into my journey as I unearth old documents detailing horrific experiments conducted on patients. These unsettling revelations lead me into a labyrinth of terror as I confront the dark secrets of a once thriving medical institution. Join me as I navigate through the eerie corridors and uncover the sinister past buried within these ancient records. The city archives. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a ghostly pallor over the abandoned hospital that loomed in the distance. It had been years since the place had been shuttered, left to decay and isolation. I had heard rumors of its dark history, but nothing prepared me for what lay hidden within its crumbling walls. My curiosity had been piqued by an old, yellowed file I discovered in a dusty corner of a city archive. The documents hinted at disturbing experiments carried out in the hospital during its final years. Unable to resist the pull of the unknown, I decided to explore the forsaken building and find out if these accounts were true. The hospital's entrance was sealed, but a broken window on the ground floor provided an entry point. I squeezed through the narrow opening and landed silently on the debris-covered floor. The air was thick with dust and the faint smell of mildew. My flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing peeling paint and rusted medical equipment scattered haphazardly. As I ventured deeper into the hospital, the silence was occasionally broken by the creaks of old floorboards and the distant drip of water. I found my way to the administrative offices, where the files were said to be kept. The room was a jumble of overturned desks and scattered papers, a testament to the chaos that must have preceded the hospital's closure. Among the disarray, I discovered a metal filing cabinet, its drawers stuck with H. After some effort, I managed to pry them open. Inside, I found a series of manila folders, each containing detailed reports of the experiments conducted here. The documents were filled with disturbing accounts of patients subjected to inhumane treatment, psychological torments, forced exposure to extreme temperatures, and bizarre drug trials. One file in particular caught my eye. It detailed a series of experiments aimed at inducing and studying extreme fear in patients. The notes described how patients were placed in isolation chambers and subjected to sensory deprivation, followed by horrifying audio and visual stimuli. The goal was to push the subjects to the brink of madness, all in the name of medical research. As I read through the documents, I felt a growing sense of unease. The descriptions were so vivid that I could almost hear the eerie whispers and see the nightmarish images the patients had been subjected to. The more I uncovered, the more I realized the extent of the cruelty that had occurred within these walls. I decided to explore further, hoping to find more clues about the experiments. My flashlight flickered as I moved through the dimly lit hallways, and I began to feel a strange presence around me. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and I thought I heard faint whispers echoing through the empty corridors. In one of the treatment rooms, I found a hidden door behind a row of old filing cabinets. It led to a small, concealed chamber. Inside, I discovered what appeared to be the remains of the isolation chambers described in the documents. The walls were covered with disturbing sketches and notes, evidence of the tormented minds that had been trapped here. The more I uncovered, the more I felt like I was being watched. My flashlight began to flicker erratically, and a cold draft swept through the room. I couldn't shake the feeling that the hospital's dark past was reaching out to me, trying to pull me into its nightmarish world. I hurried back to the main part of the hospital, my heart racing. As I made my way out, I glanced back at the documents and the grim chamber I had discovered. The haunting echoes of the past seemed to follow me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me out of the hospital. The experience left me deeply unsettled. The documents I found were a chilling reminder of the inhumanity that had taken place within those walls. As I left the hospital and returned to the city, I couldn't escape the feeling that the hospital's secrets were far from. As I left the abandoned hospital behind, the night seemed darker, and the chill in the air was more pronounced. The unsettling presence I felt seemed to cling to me, casting a shadow over my every step. The city lights ahead felt like a distant promise of safety, but the memory of what I had discovered lingered. When I reached home, I placed the documents on my desk and tried to distract myself with mundane tasks. However, every creak of the house and every flicker of light felt amplified. The nightmares began. That night, vivid and harrowing visions of the hospital's tormented souls. I woke in a cold sweat, the whispers from the darkness still echoing in my ears. Determined to understand more, I spent the following days delving into the hospital's history. My research revealed that the institution had been shut down abruptly, with no public explanation. Several staff members had vanished under mysterious circumstances, and rumors of malpractice had been suppressed. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but I knew I had to confront the chilling truth head-on. Late one evening, I received an anonymous letter slipped under my door. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a cryptic message: "You've seen much. The past never leaves." The fear of what was to come didn't deter me. I decided to return to the hospital, this time prepared to face whatever awaited me. The building was just as I had left, silent, eerie, and cloaked in darkness. I made my way back to the hidden chamber I had discovered before. Upon entering the chamber, I found the walls now covered in new, disturbing sketches, faces twisted in terror, and grotesque symbols that seemed to writhe and shift under my flashlight. A sense of foreboding gripped me as I noticed a new addition, a journal lying open on the floor. It was filled with frantic handwriting, describing the experiments in even more detail. The journal detailed the final stages of the experiments, where the subjects were not just isolated, but forced to confront their deepest fears and darkest memories. It spoke of a ritual to bind the essence of fear into the very fabric of the hospital. As I read the last entry, the temperature in the room plummeted, and the lights flickered violently. Suddenly, I heard a guttural whisper behind me, and the chamber's door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Panic surged through me as shadows coalesced into indistinct forms, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The oppressive presence of the spirits became palpable, and their anguish seemed to fill the air. Desperate to escape, I tried to force open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, forming words I could barely understand but felt deeply: threats, warnings, and despair. I realized that the hospital's dark legacy had not been confined to the documents, but had somehow merged with the very fabric of the building. In a last-ditch effort, I grabbed the journal and hurriedly scribbled down the ritual's details, hoping that understanding the process might offer a way out. The final words of the journal spoke of a release that could only be achieved by confronting the source of the fear. With a surge of determination, I took a deep breath and confronted the apparitions. Trying to calm my racing heart, I spoke aloud, acknowledging their suffering and the wrongs they had endured. As I did, the temperature in the room began to rise, and that oppressive presence seemed to lessen. The door finally creaked open, and I fled from the chamber, leaving the hospital behind for good. I knew that I had escaped the physical danger, but the mental and emotional scars would remain. The experience had changed me profoundly, revealing a dark side of humanity that went beyond mere documentation. I never returned to the hospital, and the documents were safely locked away. The shadows of the past had been confronted, but the chilling memories would stay with me forever. The abandoned hospital's secrets were now part of my own dark history, and the echoes of the experiments would haunt my thoughts for years to come.